was with the Lubbock Police Department for 33 years, starting in 1978. Basically true, being one of the only Lubbock police officer who was shot back in the 1900s, early 1900s. There was a Lubbock police officer killed, Frank Peak. He was shot at first in Cleveland by an unknown assailant, and he died shortly thereafter. But I'm the only surviving Lubbock police officer that's been shot. The event started early one evening. We were on 12-hour shifts, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. I came in as the early car from 6 a.m. From 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. We were just getting out of our briefing when a call came in from one of the officers that shots were fired at him and the deputy sheriff, and he was in pursuit of the suspect. Apparently they received an earlier call down on South Wilson Avenue on a domestic violence, and the husband had assaulted his ex-wife. When the Officer Opie, arrived at the house, he got the story, found out who the suspect was with her ex-husband, Strozzi, Mr. Strozzi. Mr. Strozzi lived in a county off of Glade Road in a trailer. So we called the Lerner County Sheriff's Department, because it was outside our city limits, to meet him so they could make the arrest. They were sitting in the parking lot of an old building that in fact still sits there on Glade Road and Highway 34, facing car to car, talking to each other, looking at the trailer they were going to approach. They noticed a pickup truck there, and he was reported to have been driving a pickup truck. So they figured he was still in the trailer, and they were figuring out how they were going to make the approach and make the arrest. Apparently it was another pickup truck, because the owner, Mr. Strozzi, he started to pull in and saw the two cars and figure out why they were there. So he blacked his car out, turned off the headlights, and he pulled up next to him and opened fire. He hit the sheriff's deputy in the arm, and only once out of the shots he fired, and he didn't hit the Lubbock police officer at all. Deputy Hirakawa got out of the car and returned fire and flattened three of his tires and put a few holes in the truck. Officer Opie then was pursuing the vehicle. As they came up over the hill coming eastbound back into town, approaching the river house, the suspect Strozzi pulled into the river house. As we left briefing, we received a call and started to respond. I was the first officer on scene at the river house. From my knowledge, Officer Opie had him somewhere in a parking lot. So I pulled my car on the east side of the roadway to block off the road so we could get in traffic by us, and grabbed my shotgun and headed into the parking lot. As I got to the parking lot, I could hear Officer Opie more than I could see him, but I could see the lights over to my right, and I could see two females coming out the door of the river house. And I could hear the argument between Officer Opie and the suspect. So my goal was to make sure that the two girls coming out of the door wasn't going to come into the line of fire. So I was kind of kneeling behind a car. I got up to warn the two girls. Well, unbeknownst to me, the suspect Strozzi was using the two women as shields. He would apparently come out of the front door, make a few demands, then back into the door. When I got there, he apparently was now coming back out to have Officer Opie or somebody come over to his truck, because he wanted to he wanted to get something out of his vehicle. So he's hiding behind the two girls. So when I got up to shout to warn the two girls to get out of the area or back into the river house, he then spotted me, turned and fired. And he hit me in the left shoulder, it coming out of the back and the shoulder blade, taking a little bit of the scapula off. So being a smart man as I was, I ducked, and knowing that I was hit, I radioed into our dispatcher that I was in fact wounded and was shot where the suspect was, so another officer wouldn't come up and see the situation and think again that he had two innocent people in the line of fire, and that the suspect was back there, so they take appropriate action. Officer Klinger was the next officer on scene. He blocked off the roadway, approached me. I was still able to communicate, but I was using my left arm to grab the radio and the mic, and once he got there, he signaled that it was clear for me to go ahead and get out of the area. So I got up and went back to my car, laid the shotgun in the car, locked the car so nobody could get to it, and sat down and waited for the ambulance to arrive. Once the ambulance got there, it parked probably 50 yards down the road, avoiding the line of fire and stuff. So I got up, walked down to the ambulance and got in the back of that and sat down, and I guess once I was in a safe environment, things started to kick in and my shoulder wouldn't work anymore and stuff, and then they transported me to the Key Medical Center, which was the only hospital at that time in Loveland. And so as the doctor came in and was treating me, the events at the River House, were taking place, and to my understanding, there was a hostage situation for quite a while, and Mr. Strozier, a suspect, would come in and out of the building making demands and things, and the SWAT team, Loveland SWAT team, was called and set up in the area with our sniper up in the mountain across from the River House. There's a nice big hill, so he had full view of the front door. He was able to get a shot, but not a clean shot because it was through glass. So when the suspect started saying he was going to kill the hostages, they got the green light to go ahead and take a shot. So when the suspect Strozzi came out, made his demands, the sniper noticed when he came back in the door, he would come in the door, turn, released his hostages, and at that time he had a clear shot, a body shot on the suspect. So when the suspect did that, he took a shot and hit him, which was a fatal shot, but it didn't stop him immediately. He was able to react. Well, out of pure crudeness, he knocked Sally Myers to the ground and put a couple rounds in her for no reason on it. At that time, the SWAT team made entrance into the River House. The suspect knew he was through. He put the gun to his head and pulled the trigger. And then he was taken to the Key, where they ushered me out of the emergency room and brought him in. And he died there at the hospital. So that's really not much of involvement, but that's what it was, quick and later on painful. So I spent a few days in a hospital and then home off duty for 2 to 3 months. It's not like the movies where they get up the next day and they're out running around. So I gotta tell you that's not so. But it took a while to get my shoulder, but ended up with a 25% disability on my shoulder. So.